Well, it wasn't too long ago, and if you check my Nebraska playlist, you'll find some of these other videos from the trip that I visited North Platte, Nebraska. Now, you can't hardly visit North Platte, Nebraska without learning about the North Platte Canteen. What was the North Platte Canteen? Simplest explanation is it was an effort by the local community to provide meals to soldiers when they would stop at the local depot passing through Nebraska. You can find exhibits on this effort to help the soldiers at both the Golden Spike Tower and the local Lincoln County History Museum in North Platte. There are some impressive stats with this effort. 6 million servicemen and women were served meals by the canteen volunteers, and the volunteers ran this operation, if you will, from December 1941, just a couple weeks after the attack on Pearl Harbor, until after the war, actually, in 1946. It didn't end till after the war in 1946. Now, this train that the soldiers rode in on through North Platte was a Union Pacific train. And North Platte happens to be the home of the Golden Spike Tower, where you can view Union Pacific's Bailey Yard. It was a Union Pacific depot, however, closer to downtown, basically in downtown, was where the soldiers stopped. Unfortunately, the old depot building where the local women volunteered their time and served millions of soldiers over a 5-year period has been demolished. That's right, they demolished the depot. You might gather from my tone, I am not a fan of that decision. The old doors to the depot are actually now the doors to the Lincoln County Historical Society, their museum in North Platte. According to the sign, the depot was demolished in 1973, and I can only think that the leaders of the town at that time were going through a phase where they didn't care or recognize the significance of their history, which is a shame. At least since the demolition, a memorial has been set up to commemorate the efforts of the canteen volunteers. The depot where the canteen would stop has been torn down, but there is this monument that you can visit. On the other side of the memorial from across the tracks is a grain elevator, which grain elevators have usually been built along railroads. It's a shame that in a town with such a rich railroad history and heritage that they weren't able to preserve the depot where the canteen effort took place. I mean, I'm sorry, but in my opinion, demolishing the depot and scrapping their Mercy boxcar have been the two stupidest things Nebraska leaders have allowed to happen when it comes to trains. However, let's try to be a little positive and note that there are several exhibits, train exhibits, worth noting in North Platte. The Golden Spike Tower site includes a retired passenger train car. Even if you can't go inside it, you can certainly look at it. There's a park with a retired locomotive, steam locomotive. And if you go back over to the Lincoln County Historical Museum, you'll find a retired caboose, a Union Pacific caboose at that. And on top of all that, there is a local train museum where you can see retired locomotives. I say retired. I guess you can tell I'm not former military, or else I might say decommissioned. But you get what I'm talking about. This museum is in Cody Park, and unfortunately it was closed at the time I went by. Yes, this one community has so many retired locomotives, train cars, etc. It's something they can be proud of, for sure, their rich railroad history. And at the end of the day, despite the fact that the canteen depot was demolished, the memorial marks the site, and people can go to visit it and reflect on the efforts of the volunteers and the impact they had on our soldiers making their journey across the country a little better. The North Platte Canteen was certainly a major undertaking and a volunteer effort worth remembering. Well, thank you for watching, and please click like and subscribe.